Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Magenta. And Magenta has this question. Would it be wrong or insulting for a person who is very ill to pray to deity for death and release as opposed to healing? And this is, I think, a very heavy and complex question, but I'm going to attempt to tackle it within the confines of the vlog. And the first thing that I would have to say is what I say about so very many other situations, and that is that everything is individual. And in considering this question, we must remember that there could be all kinds of variables that are not indicated in the question as asked, which would make it possible for there to be different answers in different situations. But because we have only the question as asked, we must answer it in a kind of a blanket way. But that blanket way would not necessarily always be the best way for every individual situation. I know there are some people who hate it when I say things like this because they leave comments to that effect sometimes. But the truth of the matter is, not every situation is like every other, and sometimes the differences are considerable and can greatly change what is the appropriate answer. Now, coming back to the question, there are several levels at which I would approach a question like this. And I think the first one is compassion. I would assume that if someone is praying for death, they're in great pain, both emotional and physical. And I think that for me as a person, I would consider it wrong to judge them because they're having difficulty dealing with that. And if it would be wrong for me, I can't imagine that deity would be doing it. I therefore think that deity would be understanding and compassionate in terms of such a situation. Therefore, it certainly would not be insulting, and I would not consider it wrong, because the person is in a position of great pain. It's only natural that they should look for the liberation that is available to them. And as to the consideration of whether it's appropriate for them to end the life prematurely at that moment, well, we're talking about prayer, not suicide. That would be a different question, which might or might not have a different answer depending upon the variables. But in terms of praying for release, it's your higher self and deity which would bring it to pass, and therefore merely praying about it is not wrong. Now, were you to actually be taking the action, I think it would depend on a lot of different things, including your actual reasoning and your mental clarity. But that's a different question, and the existing question is large enough that we don't really need to get off into side questions. So the second thing that I would say to this, having looked at it from the angle of compassion, I would look at it from the angle of existential nature. There are certain religions which hold that the life force is a gift from the Creator to the person, and that to end the life prematurely or to seek to end it, or even to ask to end it in prayer, is therefore insulting to the deity. This is not a point of view that I was raised with. It is not the point of view of my particular religious background, which is Correllianism. What we teach is that when you come into life, you have a contract between your higher self and deity, laying out most of the major things that are in that life, including when it can end. And in most cases, there's not one place where it can end, but several possible places, depending on choices that are made in the life. Because there are several possible places, then you can't really say that there is only one end that it can come to. And so to seek other possible ends is not necessarily wrong. My understanding is also that this contract is subject to constant revision during the life, at which point other possible exits could be introduced. Is it wise to seek that exit? Well, that's again another question. And there are oh so very many variables in terms of the answer of that. But as to whether it's wrong, I would say no, because the natural consequence of life is death, and eventually it will come. If you're in a great deal of pain, praying for it is not necessarily a bad thing. I know there are some people who believe that extending life as far as possible is the great goal of existence, but I've seen some people at the end of their lives in tremendous pain who I think would really have been quite happy if they'd gone a few months earlier. And I don't see anything wrong with praying for that if you're in that position. And in some cases, I don't think there'd be anything wrong with facilitating it if you're in that position. But only the person in that position has the right to make that choice. And I think also, when we're talking about things like very painful illnesses, nobody else really has the right to judge but the person who's experiencing it. Although it is worth saying that there are always going to be other people affected. But nonetheless, unless you're walking in that path, you don't really understand the pain the person's going through. And you really should not be judging them, in my opinion. So, summing it all up, I would say that no, I don't consider it to be either wrong or insulting to deity. And I often say that I can imagine almost anything in deity, except being less than I am myself, or than we are ourselves. Deity to be deity must be greater than ourselves. And if I can find compassion and understanding for such a situation, surely deity could as well. So those would be my answers to that. I hope you find them helpful. And once again, we've come to the end of a week of vlog questions. In fact, actually 2 weeks, because we didn't have a viewer's favorite question last week, and those questions have rolled over. So we have the following questions to choose from, and they are these. The first is Motto from Reverend Kai Aden. The second is Veil from Nicole Samuel. The third is Casual Charge from Laura Coleman. Next we have Faith Shaking Shock from Brian and Travis. After that, we have Ancestor Space from Reverend Moonwitch, and today's Death Prayer from Magenta. Please let me know which was your favorite. You can vote for your favorite question in the comments section at Magic TV, on Facebook pages where the vlog appears, or by email to me at donlewishp@aol.com. And I look forward to seeing which was your viewer's favorite question for this 2 weeks, and until next time, may you blessed be.
Hello, this is Lady Crystal. I am here with you today to offer today's prayer for peace. I invite you to join me as I do this and to add your energies to this prayer. I pray for peace. I pray for love. I pray for stability. I pray for this nation where I live, and I pray for the world. May peace, true peace, positive peace, reign everywhere